Maybe last night you ate way more than you meant to. Maybe you told yourself you're just going to have a little something after dinner, and then an hour later you looked down and realized you'd eaten half a bag of chips, 3 cookies, and you don't even really remember tasting any of it. And now you're sitting here thinking, why can't I just stop? What's wrong with me? How did this happen again? My friend, there is nothing wrong with you. And today I'm going to give you the exact strategies I use to prevent overeating before it happens, stop it while it's happening, and most importantly, what to do after so you don't spiral into that shame cycle that keeps you stuck. Welcome to the Biking Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Smith, and I lost 50 pounds riding my bike by focusing on what my body can do. Now, I teach other women how to do the same. I am obsessed with completely flipping the script on weight loss so that we can work out to feel good and feel strong. If you are ready to stop dieting, learn how to appreciate your body, and have fun riding your bike, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the podcast. And if you're just joining us for the very first time, I want to send a special warm welcome to you as well. I am so glad that you are here. Today, we're talking about overeating, and I know that this is something that so many of you struggle with. You know the feeling. You sit down with good intentions, and then before you know it, you've eaten way more than you meant to. And then the shame spiral starts. I'll start again tomorrow. And then you start beating yourself up and feeling like you just can't trust yourself around this food or that food. But here's the thing. Overeating isn't a character flaw. It isn't something that's wrong with you. And today I'm going to give you some really practical strategies for all of the phases of overeating. What to do before you overeat to prevent it from even happening, what to do during your overeating when you realize it's happening, and then what to do after so you can move forward instead of beating yourself up and just sitting in this same loop and this same cycle. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a clear, practical plan for handling overeating at every stage, before it starts, while it's happening, and after it's over. You're going to understand why overeating happens in the first place, and you're going to have specific tools that you can use to get started today. Also, speaking of getting started today, before we dive in, if you haven't already grabbed my completely free Lose Weight Biking Quick Start Guide, you can head on over to sassy.com/guide. That's SASCY.com/guide. It's totally free, and it's going to help you get started today. All right, let's dive right in. So first of all, I want to talk about what to do and how to prevent overeating before it even happens. The best time to deal with overeating, honestly, is before it starts. And I know that that sounds obvious, but most people skip this step entirely. They wait until they're already elbow deep in the snack cabinet, in the pantry, in order to stop themselves. But here's what I want you to do instead. So I have to tell you what I used to do often. On my way home from work, I would have a really hard day, and then I'd stop at the grocery store on my way home and buy this bag of organic Doritos. And no, I didn't buy them because I thought they were a healthier option necessarily, but I bought them because they actually tasted more like Doritos from my childhood. Doritos have always been this really kind of special, nostalgic treat for me. And I'm not even joking. I would eat half the bag, like a normal bag, not a snack size bag, on my way home from work. And I remember thinking, I deserve this. I had a hard day, and this is my treat. And I would do this over and over and over again. But here's the thing. I wasn't honestly even tasting those Doritos after the first few bites. I was just shoveling them in, trying to deal with the stress of my day. I was listening to a podcast. I love the Crime Junkie podcast. I would listen to that, and it would kind of just be this special time for me. And by the time I got home, I would feel awful. I would feel like I was too full to eat a real dinner. I'd feel sick from all the salt and fat. And then I'd beat myself up about it and eat the dinner anyway because I didn't want people to know I ate half a bag of Doritos on the way home from work. So what I decided to do instead was this. I started recognizing this pattern. I knew that after a stressful day at work, I was going to want something, so I started planning for it. Sometimes I would pack a snack to eat on my drive home, something satisfying, but not a whole bag of chips. I would actually just take some Doritos, from a bag at home and put them into a single serving bag so that I could still have my Doritos and still have that treat and still have something that tastes really good and feels special, but not overeat it and not feel like I have to eat so much. Sometimes I would call somebody and chat with them on the way home instead of doing the podcast and shoveling all of the bag of Doritos in. And the idea is that, and the strategies that I'm trying to kind of share with you is that when you eat enough during the day, because I was not really eating what I needed to be eating for lunch, if you're not eating enough during the day, it's not at all surprising that you start overeating when you get home because you are so incredibly hungry. Also, I want you to plan the good stuff, the treats, the special things. There's no reason not to eat them. You don't want to give them so much control over you. So just plan them and incorporate them. I still have Doritos or chips after work. I just don't feel like I have to eat the whole bag because I'm giving myself permission to actually eat them. Also, another tip that I have for you is to start identifying your triggers. What is it that is making you feel like you want to overeat? Is it stress? Are you bored? Are you tired? For me, it was this work stress and just feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. And then I was going to go home and I was going to make dinner and there was going to be more stress. Knowing why you have a tendency to overeat is a huge piece of this as well. And a couple of other things you can do is have for yourself a really satisfying dinner. Now, I know that kind of sounds pretty obvious too, but if you're kind of restricting yourself through dinner and you're not actually eating until you're satisfied, it's not at all surprising that an hour after dinner, you're ravenous and you're ready to eat just about everything in sight. Wait until you're actually satisfied, not just until you think you've eaten enough, like what you're allowed to eat today. So hopefully this particular idea helps you a little bit. You want to set yourself up for success by doing something intentional and being intentional about what you're eating. Because once you're triggered, your willpower is already depleted. And we don't want to willpower our way through weight loss and through wellness. We want to plan ahead. And this is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. I talk about this all the time, how planning your meals, planning your snacks, planning your treats in advance is such a great way to actually allow yourself to eat the things that you love and eat them in quantities that feel good in your body and not just have you reacting to stress and eating on autopilot. So, all right, let's say you didn't plan ahead, or maybe you did plan, but something came up and you're eating and you're in the middle of overeating and you realize you're overeating. What are you going to do? Well, here are some tips and tricks on how to stop while you're in the middle of an overeat. Now, first of all, this is one of the hardest things to do. It's much, much easier to set yourself up for success in advance than to stop yourself in the middle of an overeat. But even if you can't stop in the middle, just noticing that it's happening and going on is a huge step towards moving forward. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Once you start eating, your brain kind of is in this autopilot mode. Eating is a very kind of physical experience. And it is one that for many of us is really comforting. And what often happens is you're not even tasting the food anymore. You're just kind of eating to eat. But you can actually stop in the middle of this. What I'm going to ask you to do is just take a pause and just take a deep breath, recognize what's happening, recognize what's going on. I have a really specific example of this for you in my life. We have a regular game night with friends, and what I often will do is I will put out snacks while I'm still cooking dinner, and I will be munching on those snacks as I'm cooking dinner, and I'm not putting them on a plate. I'm just grabbing a chip. I'm grabbing, a Cheeto or something like that while I'm making dinner, and before I know it, I'm not even hungry for the dinner anymore, but I still sit down and I eat anyway, and I have dessert after, and I'm so full, like uncomfortably full. And then I'm asking myself, why did I do that? I wasn't even hungry and I ate all those chips. But sometimes I am hungry and I ate all of those chips. So here's what I've learned to do. When I catch myself grazing while I'm cooking, I actually step away. I have the table where all the food is, all the snacks are. And then I have the part of the kitchen where I'm actually cooking. And I say, you know what? I'm not going over there right now because I know that that isn't actually what I need. So I just kind of take a minute. I take a pause. I take a breath and I say, okay, you know what? I don't necessarily need this. I don't need a bunch of chips. I don't need a bunch of Cheetos. What I really need is the meal that I'm making. What I really want is the meal that I'm making. And I'm not even hungry for those other things right now. So pause and check in, like literally put the food down and ask yourself, am I still hungry? Am I even tasting this? Do I even want this? You can also remove yourself physically from the location of the food, which is I bring myself to the other part of the kitchen. I took that pause and then I kind of redirect myself, like how you would redirect a toddler. It is our toddler brain that is going after those snacks in that moment that we don't really want or need. Now, remember, snacking isn't a problem. It's a problem when we don't plan it. It's a problem when we're doing it mindlessly. And just remind yourself, you know what? If I really want these chips, I can have them later. I can have them another time. I can plan for them another time. You don't have to eat everything just because it's there. Now, this, like I said, this particular one is the harder of the three options, stopping before or stopping in the middle versus, preventing it in the first place. But we're not perfect and we're not trying to be perfect here. The goal is just to become a little bit more aware of what it is that we're doing. And if you can catch yourself even halfway through instead of at the end, that's progress. So even if you have eaten half of the snacks that you normally eat and you get yourself to stop, that is progress. And here's what I really want you to hear. Stopping mid-overeat is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself because it gives you confidence. It gives you this moment of proving to yourself, oh, wait, I actually can notice what's happening, notice what's going on, and stop because this isn't what I actually want to be doing. The more often that you do this and the more often that you get in the habit of doing this, the easier it's going to be and the better it feels. Okay, so let's say you didn't stop. Let's say you ate until you were stuffed. You ate that whole bag of Doritos. You were sitting there feeling stuffed and you're sitting there feeling shamed and you're already thinking, I blew it. I might as well just start fresh tomorrow, or I might as well just keep eating because I've already screwed up and this just isn't ever going to work for me. And this is honestly where most people stay stuck. This is where most people don't make progress and don't move forward and keep repeating this loop. So this is what we're going to talk about next is what to do after you have overeaten. This is honestly the most important part because when you are done with the overeat, you can actually reflect on what happened, on what went on, and get curious about it. Most of us are in the habit of beating ourselves up after we've overeaten. We're like, oh my gosh, this was awful. This is horrible. This is terrible. What have I done? Hopefully I'll do a better job tomorrow. I don't know. I keep screwing up. Or even worse, sometimes people will be like, okay, well, I can't eat anything tomorrow because I've already eaten enough for 2 days. And so I need to be super restrictive tomorrow. And that doesn't work either because your tomorrow body is still going to need food and it's still going to be hungry. So I want to talk to you about a time in my life when overeating was a regular thing for me. My husband was actually traveling for work and my son was only about 2 years old. And I was doing dinner, I was doing daycare drop-off, I was doing daycare pickup, and I didn't have a moment to myself in the evenings until I put my son to bed. I was tired, I was stressed, I was lonely, I was exhausted, and my go-to in these situations has always been to eat. And that is what I would do because not only was I all of those things, but I was also alone. There was no one to actually see, no one to actually witness what I was doing. So I would actually just stand in front of the pantry and I would just start shoveling things in. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually almost talking softer about this right now just because I still harbor like a little bit of shame about this. I'm still can't believe that I'm sharing this with people, but I would just start eating handfuls of food. I wasn't even sitting down. I would just open like bags of things and boxes of things, bags of chips, bags of Doritos, boxes of crackers. goldfish. And I would just eat whatever I would thought would fill me up, would make me feel better. And I was trying to do something for me. I was trying to just, have a moment of peace and give myself a treat. And when I was done, I would feel awful. The next day, I would feel terrible. I'd feel guilty. I'd tell myself that, all right, I'm not going to do this again. But then the next night would come around and I'd be doing it all over again because I never dealt with the real problem, which was that I was tired and I was lonely and I was overwhelmed and I didn't know how to actually feel those things and process those emotions. What finally helped me break this cycle, honestly, was starting to be kind to myself, starting to say, Stacey, you've got a lot going on right now, and that's okay. You really need to find ways to take care of yourself and your emotions and feel them and feel better that don't involve eating a lot of food. And so I started asking myself when I found myself in front of the pantry, asking myself, what do I actually need right now? Maybe I just needed, 10 minutes to myself. Maybe I just needed to feel all of the stuff that I was feeling. But I had to kind of stop avoiding my emotions. And that was really, really hard. So if you find yourself in this situation where you're just eating and overeating, please be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up like I did. Just be really honest. Be like, you know what? I overate. It happens. I'm human. I was doing what I needed to do in that moment in order to get through my day. And that's okay. We're all going to have stages in our life where that happens, when this is our reality. Also, don't skip meals the next day because that's just going to set you up to keep doing the same thing. Your body still needs food. Get really kind of curious about it. Don't judge yourself. Just be like, what was going on with me? Why was I doing that? Why was I feeling that way? When I started letting myself actually feel my feelings and address what I really needed, that's when I started getting to a place where I wasn't overeating as often. I wasn't overeating as much. And I started kind of asking myself, okay, what can I do next time to give myself what I actually need? One night of overeating is not going to derail all of your progress. If you feel like you've been really kind of making a lot of good choices and making a lot of good decisions, and then you overeat and you're like, okay, well, I blew it. I might as well just keep overeating. No, that's not the way that this works. We are human. We are going to overeat. I still overeat from time to time. I overate over Thanksgiving, and I talked to you about that last week. We get stuck and we stay stuck when we feel helpless, when we feel like we're out of control, when we don't trust ourselves to make a better choice and a better decision next time. So those are the three kind of things that I really wanted to talk to you about today. Talk to you about how to prevent an overeat before it even happens, how to notice that it's happening and going on while it is. Before an overeating happens, I want you to set yourself up for success by planning your meals in advance, by letting yourself eat the things that you really want to eat. Like I said, I still have those chips on the way home from work, those Doritos on the way home from work. The difference is that now I plan for them and I eat them in quantities that feel good in my body. When you're in the process of overeating, take a pause, check in with yourself, physically remove yourself from the location if that's helpful to you. You don't have to finish the whole thing, the whole bag, just because you started it. Don't get halfway through the bag and be like, oh, well, I might as well eat the whole thing. No, if you stop halfway through, that 100% is progress. And if you've already overeaten, if you've already eaten the whole bag, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It would be one thing if it worked. It doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. I have decades of experience of beating myself up to show you and me that it doesn't work. Just think about, okay, that was interesting. I wonder why I did that. I was doing that to get through that moment, and that's how I decided to cope with it. What could I potentially do next time to make a different decision? And here's what I really want you to understand. You are a human. You are going to do things that don't always bring you closer to your goals. And that's okay. This is a process. We are figuring out how to be with ourselves and our body and around food and be in control of ourselves and our body and our food in a way that feels good to us. It's not an overnight thing. It takes time. You will overeat probably for the rest of your life. But the idea is that if you can make progress, if you can overeat just a little bit less today than you did yesterday, then you are going to be moving forward in the right direction. I hope this episode helped you today. I would love, love, love if it did. If you have a friend that you know could use this message, I would love for you to share it with her. You can screenshot this episode. You can share it on Instagram. You can tag me at Sassy Cycling. I 100% will respond, and I'll send you a little bit of a note and some love. Send it to a friend that you think needs it. And if you haven't already, please, please, please be sure to subscribe, to follow this show so that you don't miss a single episode. I can't wait to be with you again next week. Talk soon. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Biking Wellness Podcast. Be sure to head on over to sassy.com/guide, SASCY.com/guide, to get my completely free Lose Weight Biking Quick Start Guide so that you can get started with simple, doable weight loss today. That's SASCY.com/guide.